Hello, very beautiful, beloved soul friends. Welcome to another Conversations with Kristin, that beautiful time of your day where you explore human consciousness and the healing journey of life from the inside out. Today, I would like to talk about eating disordered action patterns or behaviors. But I don't like the term behaviors because it implies that there's something being chosen within behavior. There's just kind of a connotation to that. And that's not what eating disordered action patterns are. Eating disordered action patterns completely stem from programs within implicit procedural memories far beyond the reach of the conscious awareness. And they are directly associated with the well-being of attachment systems, which influences decision-making beyond awareness and regulatory patterns of the nervous system. Okay, so eating disordered behaviors are not behaviors. There's nothing, you're not behaving in a certain way. So kind of just throw that word out the window. It's an eating disordered action pattern that is stemming from procedural memories. Neuroscience discovered that 80% of decision making comes from our unconsciousness. Implicit procedural memories. Procedural means there's this automated program. Like when you walk, for example, your body has an understanding about how to move itself. You're not like, okay, and then I think I need to like pick up this leg, and then I think I need to like set it in front of me, and then like I think I do that with the other leg. Is that what's next? Like what's next? How do I walk? No, it's a procedure. It's something that your body knows how to automatically do because it's learned that through experience. And so we have all of these procedural memories, and they live in our brainstem and our upper thalamus. And this is citing Peter Levine in his 2015 book. I highly recommend it. It's a fantastic book. And so we have all of these implicit procedural memories, and they live in our brainstem and our upper thalamus, and they influence 80% of decision making beyond all awareness. So when someone opens their refrigerator and looks inside and chooses what to grab, only maybe 5 to 20% of that choice is conscious. All of the particulars of how we go about moving through our days, the majority are coming from implicit procedural memories. And again, these are little programs, little pieces of data in the cells in our brainstem and our upper thalamus that hold action patterns. And so, for example, if you wake up and you're like, okay, I need to go brush my teeth, and you walk in there and you pick up your toothbrush, do you need to think, okay, I pick up my toothbrush, and then I, let's see what's next. And then I lift it to my face, and then, let's see, what's the next step of this? No, you pick up your toothbrush and you just kind of like do it, right? Like it's kind of this instinctive muscle memory, right? If you're someone who drives, I know not everybody drives, but if you're someone who drives, when you sit in the car, are you like, okay, what do I do? How do I start this? Let me think. Let me reach into my memory systems. How do I start the car? How do I start the process of driving now that I'm sitting in the vehicle? How do I get there? How do I have a key? Is there something I'm supposed to do with it? No, like you sit in the driver's seat and you just kind of stick the key in the ignition. It's very automatic, right? It's very automatic. What's another good example? If you're even in the shower, are you like, okay, let's see. How do I do this cleaning myself stuff? How do I, like, there's bottles there, and I have hands, and there's like water, and then like I think I combined those somehow to make some kind of movement that like gets me cleaner or something. Let's see. I can't. What's next? No, like you're in the shower and you just kind of reach for your shampoo and you open it and you put the thing. It's very automatic. It's very fluid. It's a kind of muscle memory. And so that place of the brain is where eating disordered action patterns come from. Eating disordered action patterns are never consciously chosen. Never. They're never consciously chosen. People don't go through life saying, you know what? I think it'd be really fun to just starve myself today. No, that's not what's happening. That's not at all the reality. People don't go through life saying, I think I'm going to overeat and just consume everything in sight. I think that is a decision I'm going to make. That's not what happens. That is not the reality of eating disordered action patterns. That is not the reality. That's not how it goes. Instead, there are action pattern programs beyond awareness that are causing these decisions to be made in a way that the conscious self doesn't have power within it. Because in these things, and when these programs, when these action patterns become engaged within eating disordered behaviors, it's causing parts of the brain that do help contribute to conscious decision making to go offline. Because these programs are associated with nervous system dysregulation. And when our nervous system gets dysregulated, we can't get to that front part of our brain that would normally be able to do that 20% of conscious decision making. So 80% of decision making always comes from our unconscious. And when eating disorder action pattern programs within implicit procedural memories become activated as a survival response, because the body is feeling like it's in a state of trauma because attachment needs have not been met during past experiences, and that data is stored inside of us. In those moments, those programs become activated and the nervous system becomes dysregulated, and the part of the brain that would normally be able to make influence over 20% of decision making goes offline. And then 100% of decision making stems from these implicit procedural memories beyond all awareness. So it's really, really important. It's really, really important to have compassion for ourselves and for one another, because we don't know what other people are going through, and a lot of times we don't even know why we're going through what we're going through, because it's coming from beyond our awareness. So please, soul friends, whether you struggle with an eating disorder and action pattern, whether you know someone who does, or whether there's any kind of life particular that you just don't understand, let go of needing to understand and know that there is a reason, and it's valid, and it's real, and it's worthy of love. No matter the particulars, love brings healing, because what's happening is our unconscious minds vibrate at a frequency of love, but when there has not been love within experiences, that vibrational frequency is very, very low, and it feels a lot like fear or anxiety or panic or all of these really scary things. And so love is the only truth. It's similar to the way that coldness is not real. The experience of coldness is very real. But coldness itself is not a vibration that exists. Coldness is simply a space that lacks heat. And it's the exact same way with our personal life experiences. Our personal experience 100% stems from our unconscious mind, and all forms of neurobiological data in our unconscious mind, in our attachment systems, in our memory systems, and in our systems of meaning-making associations, and all of the neural networks that house those, in all of our subconscious sectors, all of that data vibrates at a frequency of love. And so when there is not a high vibrational frequency of love, it will feel like something that is not love. But because our unconscious minds are completely comprised of vibrations of love, we can heal any part of our unconscious mind by pouring love into that space of our experience. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, soul friends? Because our personal experience comes from our unconscious mind, and all of the data in our unconscious mind vibrates at a frequency of love, whether it feels that way or not. Because of that reality, any part of our personal experience, it doesn't matter what it's about, whether it's about eating, whether it's about a relationship, literally any part of our personal life experience can be healed by pouring love into ourselves within that space of experience, because then it shifts our neurobiological data, which is processing stimulus and creating the actual specifics of our personal experience. Okay? Does that make sense to you guys? Does that make sense? Eating disordered action patterns are never consciously chosen. Not ever, not once, not ever. So, how do we heal them? Any eating disordered action pattern can be healed through love and presence. And yes, it will take time. It will not happen overnight. But when there are daily energetic investments of love and presence, you can transform any part of your experience. I'm talking any part. It doesn't matter how hopeless or helpless it feels. I promise, through love and presence, you can change it gradually. And you are worth that investment. You are so worth that investment. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through a way that you can start to heal eating disordered action patterns from the inside out. No one else outside can help heal this. They can encourage it, they can support it, they can offer love or guidance or create compassionate space, but healing can only really happen from inside. But that's a good thing because it means you always have power. It means that your power is not outside of you. Your power is not in the hands of a medical professional or a medication or a program or anything. Maybe those things can provide support, but that is not where the power is, and that's a good thing. That's good news. It means you always have power. No matter what resources you have access to, no matter what support you have access to, you have 100% power to create the change from inside of you. Okay? It's really good news, beloveds. It's really good news. So this healing process is a two-step process, and it involves presence and love. And that's the theme for healing. Love and presence are the theme for healing anything. And it's because at our core, we are love and presence. Our unconscious body is pure presence. Our body cannot be in two moments at once. It literally cannot. It literally cannot be in more moment than one at a time. And so at our core, our body is just present. It's just here. It's just in one moment at a time. That is where our body is. That is who our body is. And that's how the unconscious parts of our consciousness experiencing firsthand, personally, experiencing the energetic flow of our unconscious body. You have parts of your consciousness experiencing your blood flow. You have parts of your consciousness experiencing data within the shifting of your nerves. You have parts of consciousness flowing through this whole vehicle. Okay? So those parts of consciousness are pure presence. That's who they are. That's who they are. And they experience dis-ease when our body is not able to be present. Okay? So our body is pure presence, and unconscious parts of ourselves are pure presence. That is who they are. That is who they are at their core. And so they heal and become liberated into the fullness of all that they are when they get to experience pure presence. So presence is the first path to healing. The second path to healing, or the second part of healing, is love. And that is because our subconscious parts are pure vibrations of unconditional love. Our subconscious parts experience life through the projection of neurobiological data from our unconscious mind or our subconscious realms. And so all of the stuff in our unconscious mind, which are the neural networks that create the personal parts of experience. Like we've got our body, and it's this kind of like abstract blueprint, like, yo, what's up? I'm a person. I'm a person, you're a person, we're each a person of some kind, right? We all have like some kind of body. You know, some people have hands, some people don't have hands, some people have hair, some people don't have hair, but we're all a person, right? So that's our unconscious body. It's this kind of abstract structure. And then we've got our unconscious mind, which is where the personal particulars come in. And so personal preferences and how we perceive ourselves and how we experience ourselves and how we personally encounter the world and different aspects of our personality and our, our likes and our dislikes and our perspectives and, our memories and the way we connect things and all of that, that comes from our unconscious mind. And all of that data, as I previously mentioned, it vibrates at a frequency of love. And that's because our unconscious mind, every piece of data stems from attachment system data. Our memory systems are filed away on top of our attachment systems. Like the foundation about like what attachments are and the wiring of that determines how memory programs get stored away. And then the filing of the memory programs on top of the attachment programs are what create the meaning-making associations that create conclusions and perspectives and things like that. And all of our subconscious data vibrates at a frequency of love. And our subconscious parts develop and are sculpted into their own miraculous existence through experiences of love. Our subconscious parts are embodiers of love or receivers of love, givers of love or extenders of love, witnessers of love or perceivers of love, and protectors of love or guardians of love. That's who our subconscious parts are. We've got 4 sectors of subconscious parts. Moppet parts are embodiers or receivers of love. Nightingale parts are givers or extenders of love. Normal parts are observers or witnessers or perceivers of love. And guardian parts are protectors or shielders of love. We have 4 sectors of subconscious parts according to my liberated consciousness diagram. And so our parts experience themselves and life through projections of neurobiological data. So both our consciousness and our neurobiology develop or experience themselves and their existence through vibrations of love. So our subconscious parts, or parts of our miraculous self-essence within our unconscious mind, are pure vibrations of unconditional love. And these parts of our consciousness create the majority of us. About 95% of our consciousness are comprised of parts experiencing life beyond our awareness. And only about 5%, roughly 5% of our entire consciousness are little parts of our consciousness that we have direct observation of. Okay? And so most of our parts of consciousness are experiencing themselves in life beyond awareness. Okay? How to heal eating disordered action patterns. It's a 2-part process involving presence and love. Okay? The first part involves presence. Presence with the eating disordered action patterns. What does presence mean? It means just being in the experience. That's it. You don't try to change it. You don't ever label it. You don't ever judge it. You don't try to force anything. You let it be what it is, but you establish presence within it. And so what this means is your observational self looks at parts of your inner experiencer and just notices what they're going through, and that's it. You do not need to change your eating disordered action patterns to heal them. I'm gonna repeat that. This is important. I know it goes against a lot of protocols suggesting healing modalities. You do not need to change your eating disordered action patterns to heal them. Okay? All you need to do to start with is be present with what's happening. That's it. You don't need to judge or label anything that you're going through. You don't even need to describe, you don't need to put a classifier on it. You can describe what you're going through because that helps your observational self notice parts within your experience, but that comes from a place of objective observation. Okay, so let me explain the difference here. So a judgment is drawing a conclusion based on what you notice. That's subjective. That's, oh my God, this is eating disordered behavior. You don't need to go that route. What you want to do is have objective observation, which means describing the details. I'm noticing my feet are walking towards the kitchen cupboard. I'm noticing my hand is opening the kitchen cupboard. I'm noticing my hand is reaching in, and I'm noticing that I don't feel a lot of control within the situation. I'm noticing that I'm picking up a jar. I'm noticing that I'm opening it. I'm noticing that I don't feel power within what I'm doing, and that this is kind of just happening automatically. I'm noticing my hand reach in. I'm noticing it. I'm noticing food going into my mouth. I'm noticing that all of this is happening, but I don't feel present within the experience. I feel like it's very automatic and it's happening beyond what I'm actually noticing. That is how you describe what's happening to yourself. You do not ever need to go in and be like, oh my God, it's happening again. Oh my God, I'm out of control. Oh my God, I'm reaching in. Oh my God, seriously? Like I have no power here. Like, oh my goodness, are you kidding me? Like, this is so terrifying. Like, oh my God, like I have no power. I have no authority. This is awful. Like, oh my goodness, what is wrong with me? You never, ever, 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 ever need to go that way. You never, ever, 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 ever need to talk to yourself like that. You never, ever need to talk to yourself like that. And if there are automated thoughts about that, that too is just coming from automated data in your unconscious mind. It's not who you are. Okay, beloveds? And so if that kind of narrative is happening, then notice it through objective observation. I'm noticing self-judgment. I'm noticing self-criticism. I'm noticing that there's automated narration beyond my control that is not very kind or loving. And again, you don't need to you don't need to draw conclusions based on it. Like, you do not need to be like, I'm noticing that there's self-judgment. Wow, that I must be like a really just like rude person. You don't need to draw conclusions based on what you're noticing. All you need to do is create objective observation, narrating what you're noticing, and leave it at that in each moment. And so, for example, if you move through and you open the cupboard and you reach in to grab food and you pull the food out, you do not need to draw a conclusion based on what happened 2 seconds ago. All you need to do is objectively observe and describe the individual particulars of the new moment. Every moment is a new moment. This 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 is a new moment. You don't need to look at the moment that was right there or 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 right there. You don't need to do that. You're here, you're now, you're here, you're now, you're here, you're now, you're here, you're now. You're here, you're now, you're here, you're now, you're here, you're now. The moment that was a moment ago is gone. You don't need to look at it. When your hand is reaching in to grab a bite of food, the moment of opening the cupboard is gone and done. That moment doesn't exist anymore. You don't need to look at it anymore. It's gone. It's over with. You're in a new moment. And now you're reaching your hand, and this is the moment you're in. And now once the food is in your mouth, you no longer need to look at the moment where your hand was reaching in that. Do you see what I'm saying? It's one moment at a time, and you stay with the moment. And you let the last moment go, and you don't look to the next moment. You're just here, and you're just objectively describing what's happening, objectively observing. Okay? So you're not noticing the moment that was a second ago. You're not looking to whatever might happen next. You're in the exact moment that your body is experiencing, and you're objectively observing and descriptively describing each particular to yourself to connect your observational self with your inner experiencer. No judgments, no conclusions. If that happens automatically, you objectively observe that as something else that is being automatically generated based on your neural wiring. Okay? Pure presence. Presence is the first way you heal. You do not, this is really important, you do not need to change the action patterns. When you notice yourself going into any form of eating disordered action pattern, you do not need to try and change it. If you try and change it, it will only make things harder and worse. Okay? You do not need to try and change it. Because if you do, you're going to create resistance within you that creates more disconnect. Okay? Your goal is to increase internal connection. And that happens through presence. And you can't be present with what's happening if you're trying to force something different to happen. You can't force something different to happen because what's happening is coming from unconscious data in your brainstem and your upper thalamus. And you don't have direct authority over that immediately. But you do have authority in how that data becomes rewired, which starts through presence. Once you establish presence, things can start to shift, but only presence can get you there. So do not try to change the action patterns to heal them. Just be present with what's happening in this very specific way. Okay? There's different ways to think that there's presence, but it has to be this very, very specific way that I'm describing. This is the only way that healing can happen. It's the only way. It's the only way. Okay, there has to be presence in this way where you are objectively observing and descriptively describing individual pieces of moments. And once you're in a moment here, the moment where you were right here is done and gone, and you don't look at it anymore because you're not there anymore. And in this process, you're connecting so many pieces of your neurobiological applications of consciousness, and I guarantee it will plant enough seeds to create radical change in your life. And truthfully, this approach can be used to heal anything. Panic attacks, insomnia, traumatic flashbacks, major depression, anxiety, OCD, all of the kind of overarching mental health battles, they can all be helped through this process of presence. Because all of that stuff is coming from our implicit procedural memories. 100% of it. 100% of it is coming from our implicit procedural memories and how they're affecting the regulatory states of our body. And all of that was just data gained through experience. And so we start to shift that data by creating new experiences, which starts with presence. Okay? All right, beloved soul friends, thank you so much for sticking with me. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching this video. Thank you for investing in your healing journey. Thank you for being so boldly courageous to rise into your personal power. I know it can feel very scary. I know it can feel very scary. I know it can feel very hard. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. Thank you. And in this moment, please, 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 please take a moment to thank yourself for being here. Please take a moment and thank yourself for being here. Thank you for being here. Okay. Whew. Hit my own feels on that one. My own feels on that one. Okay, so friends, so the next part about healing. It's a beautiful day to be alive. Okay, so the next little part about how to heal eating disorder and action patterns. And again, this protocol, these processes can help transform any type of mental health battle or any type of emotional battle or quite frankly any type of relational battle, because how we interact with people is stemming from our implicit procedural memories and how they impact our regulatory capacities. So no matter what piece of our personal experience could use a little healing transformation, this protocol can actually completely help. Just this video in particular is focusing on the topic of eating disorder and action patterns. But please keep in mind that this approach is how to transform life experience from the inside out by rewiring the implicit procedural data, or implicit data, because it does touch on emotional memories a little bit as well, but with more of an emphasis on the procedural memories to shift the action patterns, for example. But it can really help create change in any portion of personal life experience. Okay, so the first part of this is through pure presence. Pure presence, not conditional presence, not judgmental presence, not subjective presence, but pure presence. Okay. The second part of this is through energetic vibrations of unconditional love. And unconditional love takes a while to get to. So start with whatever kind of love you can access within yourself, no matter what that looks like. Maybe it's just a little tiny piece of conditional love. That's okay. Just start where you are and grow from there. Love can look like a lot of different things. It could look like courage, or compassion, or tenderness, or gentleness, or patience, or peace, or forgiveness, forgiving yourself. It's important to forgive ourselves for what we don't have control of. For example, with eating disordered action patterns, there may be some guilt or shame experience during or after those little the little episodes where those programs are becoming activated in our unconscious. And it's important to forgive ourselves because we didn't choose that. When you move through and you experience these eating disordered action patterns, you're not choosing that. That's happening automatically based on neurobiological wiring. And you can shift the wiring 100%, but it's a gradual process. And so in the meantime, while you're rewiring your brain and transforming your life experience from the inside out to liberate your consciousness, you get to forgive yourself because you are not being mean to yourself on purpose. That's not, like there can be some judgments that arise internally through these experiences, but it's important to have love for ourselves because we ourselves are not choosing the experience. And when we love ourselves, we start to have more power within the experience gradually because our love heals the things creating the experiences. Okay? So no matter what you're going through, you are not the experience. You are not at all the experience. And so you're allowed to have gentle grace for whatever you're going through. No matter what you're experiencing, no matter who you are, where you are, what you're going through, you are allowed to love yourself relentlessly. You are allowed to have tender compassion and ecstatic grace and deep tranquility and serenity and surrender and peace and reassurance and soothing gentleness. You're allowed to have all of these things for yourself. You're allowed to have courage. You're allowed to have bravery. You're allowed to have an adventurous spirit of curiosity. Like when we can grow curious about what's happening, we help to re-engage that part of our brain that helps us make conscious decisions that's kind of getting shut off during things. And so if we can become curious about our eating disordered behavior instead of judgmental, we're actually healing ourselves neurobiologically. That's pretty rad, right? What a shift in perspective, right? Like, how can I be curious about my panic attacks? How can I be curious about my insomnia? How can I be curious about my eating disordered behavior? And of course, it might not feel that lighthearted because you're going through these things. But when you can do that, you're grounding in your observational self so that you have more power to be there for your inner experiencer. When you're moving through it, when you're moving through experience and there's a lot of reactivity, or you're blending with the experience, or you're misattuning, which means there's no distinction between your observational self and your inner experiencer. There's complete connection without any distinctions. They're not able to work together. They just become one and the same, and then there's no power within the experience. And so when you can tap into something like curiosity, regardless of how intensely intense it can be within the experience, you're grounding in your observational self so that you can be there for your inner experiencer. Because your inner experiencer is who's going through it. Your inner experiencer is directly in the heat of the battle, and there's no ability for conscious response or or objective observation or intentional mindfulness, and the whole experience is completely based on projections of neurobiological data, and it's all automated, and it's all unconscious, and it's all very scary because there's no power there. But your observational self is up here like, yo, what's up? I got the power. I got the power, babe. I got the power up here. But when this part is down here, then there's no one in the space of power. So it's important to be up here and be like, okay, I am observing. And that's where the presence comes in, because then you got power to be up here. And so things like curiosity or shifts in perspective or peace or patience, those kinds of things really come in handy for grounding in our observational self, okay? And you can actually find out more about this concept of personal power and how you can help the observational self be there for the inner experiencer by planting energetic seeds of rewiring your brain through a free download I have for you guys. It's a free gift of love from my heart to yours because I want you to have the tools to succeed. I want you to have so much power to move through your life experience and transform any part of it that you're not enjoying so that your consciousness can be liberated into the loving presence that it truly is. Okay, so you can find that gift and over a dozen other presents from my heart to yours with ecstatic, empowering love at KristinWindsor.com/gifts. Okay, KristinWindsor.com/gifts, and that link is in the video description below. So please feel free to snag it. It's called Brain Rewiring Playbook. Okay, the one I'm specifically referring to is called Brain Rewiring Playbook at KristinWindsor.com/gifts. You can click that link below. There's also a bunch of other free downloads you can snag while you're there. They're really powerful, simple practices. Very easy to use. A big dramatic effect on your life when you continuously use them, okay? All of them are designed that way. So please feel free to explore that. It really just makes such a huge difference in the healing journey of life. Okay, so anyway, back to the process of healing, eating disordered action patterns. So the first thing is presence. The second part is love. What this means is that you love yourself in a way that creates energetic vibrations within your unconsciousness that meet your attachment needs. That's the objective. That's the goal. That's the intention. That's kind of the like you got a compass, right? Like you may not have an entire roadmap where you know step by step what you're doing, but you got this kind of compass and it's pointing in the general abstract energetic direction of creating energetic vibrations of love to fulfill unmet attachment needs, okay? And you're going to let that compass guide you. You're going to let that compass guide you. You might not have a roadmap. You might not have step-by-step directions. Like, okay, and then you do this, and then you do this, and then, that's not how it goes. But you do have this compass, okay? The compass is love. You have 4 attachment systems with approximately 20 needs altogether. And you can find out more about these particulars in another free download I have for you guys. It's called Loving Liberation. And it talks about this whole concept of attachment systems and the power of meeting and fulfilling internal attachment needs. You can also find out more about healing attachment systems in other YouTube videos I have. So if you go to my YouTube channel here and you're like, youtube.com/Kristin Chronicles, and then you go to that little search bar and you type in attachments, or you go to one of the playlists and it talks about attachments, you can find out several more videos that are about attachments and what they are and how they operate and how they impact life experience, and how to recognize their activations and how to respond to them and how to heal them and how to rewire them and all the good that comes from healing and rewiring attachment systems, okay? So please feel free to explore that. Understanding attachment systems is utterly paramount for understanding any part of the human experience. 100% of the human experience directly stems in one way or another from unconscious attachment systems. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. From artistic creations to reactions to the way our body moves through moments, like everything stems from attachment systems in one way or another. So it's very, very helpful to understand what's going on within that aspect of our unconscious mind that also influences our unconscious body and our conscious mind. So again, you can explore Loving Liberation, a free download I have for you guys. It's a really, really beautiful, powerful, insightful piece of magic. It walks you through a brand new diagram I've created that explains where life experience comes from and how healing attachment systems kind of changes the game. And then it's got some tools to help you with that. So you can discover that download and more downloads at kristinwindsor.com/gifts. And then you can find out more about attachment systems and other YouTube videos. Okay. So this concept of love to heal eating disordered action patterns, it's all about fulfilling unmet attachment needs, because that is the core of the implicit procedural memories that are generating eating disordered action patterns. 100% of eating disordered action patterns, regardless of what that looks like, what type of experience it is, or how intense the experience is, or how frequent or infrequent or anything, no matter what the particulars are, it completely stems from attachment systems which are rooted in implicit procedural memories. The data of attachment systems and implicit procedural memories interact with one another. They're two parts of the same coin, you could say. The action pattern, the actual action pattern, and then the attachment thing are two sides of the same coin of the implicit procedural memory, if that makes sense. Or implicit memories, I could say. Okay, so attachment systems. And so a lot of times, the eating disordered action pattern will stem from an unmet attachment need of feeling safe, secure, protected, and provided for. Not always, because there are other attachment systems and other needs, but oftentimes this is the one that comes up the most. And so what that actually means is that a part of our unconsciousness is continuously experiencing a sense of unsafety because of something that happened in the past. But here's the best part, you guys. Oh, are you ready for this? Are you ready for the most loving, liberated magic ever, 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 ever? The most hope-filled, restorative, rejuvenating, uplifting, just awesome, just bomb drop of magical, truthful nuggets of magical awesomeness. You guys ready for this? Oh, this gets me jazzed for life. You do not need to look at the painful memory that started this to heal it. Isn't that radically awesome? Isn't that so radically awesome? Like, yes, you're telling me I don't need to look at the trauma to heal the effects of the trauma? Yes! Good, because I don't want to look at that stuff. It does not feel good to look at that stuff. I don't want to look at the crap that made my life so weird. I don't want to look at the crap that made my life so freaking weird. Right? So you don't need to look at whatever memory, whatever experience started this occurrence. You don't need to go there. Isn't that wonderful? Yes! Phew! Oh, I thought I was going to have to go back and look at all that junk, but I don't. Freedom! You do not need to look at where the pain started to heal the pain that is being engaged now that began there. Okay? All right? Okay? Breathe a little deeper. Breathe a little easy. Let something heavy go inside you. Ooh-sah. Mega ooh-sah, right? Okay? You with me? You do not need to look at the experiences that started it, okay? So what happens is we've got these different systems inside of us. We've got our attachment systems, we've got our memory systems, and then we've got our meaning-making associations, and then pieces of data in those three aspects of personhood, they string together and create one subconscious timeline. The one subconscious timeline is comprised of one little nugget of data within attachment systems, one little nugget of data within memory systems, and one little nugget of data within meaning-making associations. Okay? So at the core of all the data in our unconscious mind that's generating our sense of personal life, personal identity and personal processing of life experience comes from subconscious timelines. Okay, and so a lot of times what happens is you'll try to go in and look at the memory system and you'll try to heal the memory system, but that's not the root of everything. That's just a middle piece of it. And so looking at that doesn't heal it, because maybe you transform a little piece of the middle data, but because the root is coming from somewhere else, the data just shifts back. You can't create change data from going to the middle of it. You know what I mean? Like you have to go to the root of where things are coming from. You can't change how leaves are growing by looking at the leaves. You got to look at all the stuff that's contributing to how the leaves are growing. Does that make sense? Like if there's something going on at the root of a plant, like if there's a tree growing and there's some kind of dis-ease within the roots of the tree, and you notice that by seeing something going on with the leaves, like maybe there's like little patchiness or something, and you look at the leaves and you're like, oh, there's something that's not in complete optimal health within this tree. There's some sense where ease is lacking within the energetic flow of this tree. There's some energetic space of vibration within this tree that does not have ease, that wants to feel ease. But you can't shift how the leaves are growing by looking at the leaves and working with the leaves, because that's not where things are coming from, and you will not create change, or the change will be temporary and then it'll shift back. So you can't heal past experiences by looking at the memories of those past experiences. That's not how they heal. You cannot heal past experiences by looking at the pain of past experiences. That does not heal them. All that does is activate their neural networks and make it bigger. When you look at past pains and you look at past pains and you talk about past pains and you focus on the past pains, all you're doing is activating neural networks, carrying that information, and it gets bigger. So then there's more of that data. So you do not heal past pains by looking at the past pains. You heal past pains by looking at the underlying attachment need and meeting it here and now. Only here and now. Doesn't have anything to do with there, because you're not there anymore. You're not there anymore. You're just right here. You're just right here right now in your pure presence. You're just right here right now practicing your pure presence. Okay, and so here's the other really important, super mega ultra important part, okay? Attachment systems do not house particulars. It's not, I do not feel safe because of this thing that happened. That data does not exist in attachment systems. The only data that exists is, I do not feel safe. There are no particulars. It's not, I don't feel safe because this thing happened last year. The thing that happened last year is in your memory systems. It's not in your attachment systems. It's not at the root of what's happening. It might be a part of an implicit memory, but it's not a part of attachment systems. It might be a part of implicit memories, but it's not a part of attachment systems. Okay? Attachment systems only house abstract data. Only abstract data. So it's not, I don't feel safe because of this thing. It's just an abstract general sensation of, I feel a lack of safety. And it's not tied to specific experiences. It's a feeling of the here and now. And so we heal any kind of internal battle. And in this video, we're focusing on eating disordered action patterns. You heal any kind of eating disordered action patterns, and anything else like panic attacks and stuff like that, by loving yourself and creating experiences of tangible vibrations within your unconsciousness that meet your attachment needs here and now. When you love yourself, you plant energetic seeds of vibration that transmute the energetic data at the baseline core of all subconscious timelines. All subconscious timelines change. Hi, kitty. All subconscious timelines change. Yes, hello. Always so friendly. Everybody say hi, Jack. Everybody say hi, Jack. Hi, Jack. Okay. Hi, Jack, kitty. I gotta finish my video. We transform life experience from the inside out when we heal our attachment system. So when we create tangible vibrations of love for ourselves, we heal the underlying data that's creating the activations of these action patterns. Okay? And just a side note insight, panic attacks and OCD things where you got your obsessive compulsive, and there's like these compulsions and the obsessions, and the compulsions and the obsessions and the impulses, right? And insomnia, all of those are types of action patterns. All of them. All of them are types of action patterns. Thoughts are types of action patterns. When you have an obsession, that's a program coming from your implicit memories. When there's a compulsion, that's an action pattern that's coming from your implicit memories. A procedural memory specifically for that one. When you have insomnia, that's coming from an implicit procedural memory where your body has this protocol regarding the process of sleep, or lack thereof. It's all panic attacks, the way your body automatically responds to varieties of stimulus that creates the sensation of panicking and having anxiety, and all of these different bodily responses. They are all coming from implicit memories and the action patterns held within them. They're all types of action patterns, so all of them can be healed through this process. Eating disordered behaviors included, eating disordered action patterns included. They're not behaviors. They're action patterns. Okay, so it's all about creating tangible vibrations of love within us. And that means something that your inner being feels. Tangible vibrations is about attunement. It's about internal connection. Okay, and that's why you have a compass and not a map, because a map is this direction of you do this and you do this and you do this and you do this, and then you get from here and then you get from there. You go from here to there by this path. But that's not the healing journey of life, because everybody is different. And something that one person does to create tangible vibrations of love within them would not effectively create tangible vibrations in somebody else. So it's important to move through this process with a compass. And let your compass be your guide, because only your inner being knows what it needs to create internal connection. And a lot of times it's a process of trial and error. You do something and you're like, I'm not really feeling it. And you do something else and you're like, oh my God, this is so powerful. I feel so connected with me. And so you kind of got to play with it a little. You kind of got to play. But in this process, all of the things that are done to try and heal are just tools. What you do does not matter as much as how you feel when you do it. Okay? So if you sit in front of a mirror and you have flower petals and you pour them over your head, if you're just like, okay, I'm dumping flowers on my head, this is so stupid. This is doing nothing for me. I'm totally not healing. Then you're not going to experience healing, because there's no tangible vibrations of love. But if you're sitting in front of a mirror and you're showering yourself with flower petals and you're like, this is a flower of love from my heart to me. With every breath I breathe, I am loved and I am treasured, I am safe, I am worthy of healing, and I let beauty shower me. I allow these petals to wash the pain from my body. I look in the mirror and I connect with myself and I allow there to be tender connection in this moment and I create space for me to just be who and where I am, that can create tangible vibrations of love inside of you. So it's all about how you feel while you're doing whatever it is that you're doing to heal. It doesn't matter what you do. It matters that something inside of you feels some kind of sensation of self-love while you do it. So that's why there's a lot of freedom here. There's a lot of space to explore and play and, just kind of see what comes up. See what comes up for you. See what opportunities arise and play and explore and be gentle and be light and try new things and try things in very small and gentle ways. Don't try to do a lot of big stuff. Just pick one little tiny thing and then do it and just kind of see how it feels. Okay, just kind of one little thing and let me just see how it feels and then I'll look at my compass and I'll kind of just move from there. Just one little baby step at a time. So when you continuously create tangible vibrations of experiences of love, you plant energetic seeds that literally transmute your energetic data. Your entire neurobiological applications of consciousness change, transform, evolve, and expand and become healed from the inside out. So there was this science experiment done a while back, and they discovered the effects of vibrations of loving words on the molecular structure of water droplets. You can find out more about that. You can Google the topic. But basically, when you say, I love you, 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 these water droplets create these absolutely perfect crystals. Like imagine a snowflake, just complex design and intricate patterns and beautiful geometric shapes. Just stunning. Just absolutely stunning. And when words that did not hold a high vibrational frequency of love were spoken into the water droplets, I hate you, you're disgusting, you're miserable, you're awful, I loathe you. The formation of the molecular structure of those water droplets was hideous. Like the actual visual sensation, they were dark and distorted and like the actual molecular structure of microscopic cells. And so when we create vibrational experience of love, we're literally transmuting the way that our cells experience themselves and thus create our personal experience of self and life. Okay, so attachment systems only hold abstract data. They do not hold particulars. And all of the stuff that's coming up with eating disordered action patterns are stemming from unfulfilled attachments. And so we heal eating disordered action patterns by fulfilling the attachment needs in the here and now of today. And because this is the reality, looking at memories of past pains that originally created these kinds of action patterns is not necessary. And trying to change the action patterns themselves by shifting the way you move through eating patterns or patterns of not eating is not necessary. You don't need to look at the actions that are happening, and you don't need to look at the memories of the experiences that started them. You only need to look at the underlying attachment systems where there are unfulfilled attachment needs. And thankfully, attachment systems completely hold abstract data, which means any vibration of love that you create in new moments is going to help heal them. It's allowed to be really abstract, but it's all about being able to feel them. And so even if you just move your body slower, like when you wake up and you walk to the bathroom or you walk to the kitchen or you walk outside to check the mail or whatever it is that you do in the morning, just slow down. And when you lift your foot, be present with lifting your foot. And when you move your foot out, be present with moving your foot out. And as you set your foot down on the ground, be present with feeling your foot step on the ground. And move so slowly that you can feel each individual aspect of what you're doing. That's a way to plant love. And it also helps you grow your presence and practice your pure presence. It can look like being gentler with yourself. Like, let's say you're reaching in the cupboard and you pick up a glass and you accidentally drop it. In that moment, you can practice love by letting go of the experience and focusing on your inner experiencer. Okay, this is a big theme for healing attachment systems. It's a shifting of the energetic direction of our focus away from the experience and inwards towards our inner experiencer. And so in the moment, with this example where you reach for a glass and you drop it, the automated response would be most likely be towards the experience. And you're focusing on the fact that there's a broken glass. And because the focus is towards the broken glass in the experience, you're completely missing the inner experiencer you are, who's personally encountering what's happening. And so a lot of times the response will be towards the glass instead of towards ourselves. Okay? And because of that, there will be less love and less compassion and less self-connection. It's like, oh my God, seriously? Like, now I have this broken glass, and like, I really enjoyed this glass, and I didn't want it to break, and now I've got this like horrendous mess to clean up. Like, are you kidding me? And because the focus is towards the experience, you're missing the you who is actually in the experience. But if instead of looking at the experience, you turn inward towards your inner experiencer and you're like, oh babe, I'm sorry you dropped that. Like, I know it wasn't on purpose. Like, it's okay. Like, it's all right. It's okay, sweetheart. It's just a glass. Like, I'm just glad you're okay. You didn't cut yourself, did you? Okay, no worries. We're just going to clean this up together, okay? It's okay. It's all allowed. I know it wasn't on purpose, sweetheart. You're good. It's okay. It's just a glass. I'm just glad I'm here with you. Let's clean this up together. See how different the energy of that is? See how different the energy of that response is? So a lot of healing attachment systems is internal attunement with ourselves, and that is propelled forward, encouraged, uplifted, amplified, enabled when we shift our energetic focus away from the experience and inward towards our inner experiencer. The parts of our consciousness who are inside of us experiencing neurobiological projections of data that are interpreting what's happening. That's us in the experience. That's where our experience is coming from. The outside stuff is not generating our personal experience. It's just stimulus. It's stimulating neurobiological activations, projecting data that our personal self is encountering. And so when we look away from the experience and inward towards our inner experiencer, that creates opportunity for connection, and it creates opportunity for healing. And then attunement happens along a spectrum. And in the middle of the spectrum is exactly where we want to be. It's where our observational self is able to connect with our inner experiencer without becoming the same thing as them. Okay? And on either end of the spectrum are the places of where attunement is not happening. On one side of the spectrum is misattunement, and this is also referred to as blending. And this happens when our observational self is so close with our inner experiencer that there's no separation, there's no distinction, and all of us just feels like the inner experiencer, and we feel like we don't have power because we are everything that's happening. So that's misattunement. And this is some terminology I've created to kind of just help provide language for these topics. On the other end of the spectrum is unattunement. So misattunement and unattunement. And unattunement happens when there's no connection. Your observational self is out here looking at the experience, and there's just like no awareness of all the parts that are back there having all kinds of experiences. And so misattunement is when the observational self is so close with the inner experiencer that there's no distinction, no separation, no clarity between their two aspects of self-essence. And then unattunement is when the observational self is moving through experience without any connection to the inner experiencer. Okay, and so the goal is to be in the middle, where our observational self is still distinct, still its own thing, but with connection and compassion and collaborative community with the inner experiencer. Okay, and so practicing this looks like looking away from the experience and looking at ourselves within the experience from a place of objective observation. And from there, you practice extending self-love. And again, that can look like different things. Love has a lot of different energetic attributes. Gentleness and tenderness and patience and peace are some of the really powerful ones. Gratitude and appreciation, like just thanking yourself for being alive. Like I got this little cut the other day, and I've been watching it gradually heal. And so just taking a moment to be like, hey, finger, and the parts of consciousness within my finger, thank you so much for just healing. Like, that's a miracle. Like, there was this open space in my body. There was this open space in my body. And it was hurting and it was causing pain. And now it's healing and it's all closing up and it's all just healing on its own. Like, thank you, body. Thank you for doing that. Thank you, body, for healing. Thank you, parts, for the experience you're having within that healing. It can look like a lot of different things. It can look like having the courage to be pure presence even when it's hard. It can look like having the courage to take care of yourself even when you really don't want to, or there's a lot of battles that come in the way of that because of unconscious action patterns that make it difficult to take care of yourself. It can look like a lot of different things, but it's important that our inner experiencer feels tangible vibrations of love that are created from our observational self. That's the objective. No matter what you're doing, that's the objective, okay? All right, so just a little recap. Eating disordered action patterns are coming from implicit procedural memories beyond all awareness, data housed in our brainstem and upper thalamus, and we do not have conscious power within that space. And so we do not heal eating disordered action patterns by trying to change the action. And we do not heal eating disordered action patterns by looking at the experiences that started them. Instead, we heal eating disordered action patterns by establishing pure presence, which means objectively observing and descriptively describing moment by moment things, which means there's no judgment, there's no conclusions, there's nothing like that, and it's one moment at a time. So the moment that happened 2 seconds ago, the moment that happened 5 minutes ago, it's done, it's gone. You do not look at it because you're busy looking right here at this new moment. And then you're busy looking here at this new moment. And then you're busy looking here at this new moment. And you're so busy with each new moment that you don't look at the moment that happened 2 seconds ago or 5 minutes ago. And you're so busy looking at the present moment, you're not worried about what's going to happen next because you're busy objectively observing and descriptively describing what's happening here and now without any form of judgment. And it's a practice. You're not just going to jump in and be like, oh man, I'm super great at just like objectively observing and descriptively describing my individual moments. I'm a pro. It's a practice. You're basically teaching your brain and your body a brand new skill. So it takes some practice, but you will get there. And the more that you practice, the more that you'll grow the ability to do this, and the easier it will become, the more fluidly your application of this ability will flow, etc., etc. Okay, so pure presence is the first way that you heal eating disordered action patterns. The second piece of this is love and continuously creating tangible vibrations within self-generated experiences. So it's you creating stuff for you. It doesn't involve other people. Other people cannot heal your attachment systems ever. And when they're involved, it actually makes healing a lot harder, because then attachments are getting hooked on them. The goal is to have attachments hooked inward. So it's important that healing is an inner thing, because when other people are involved, our attachments don't heal as well. They might be tools, they might be catalysts, but oftentimes it just gets sticky. And so healing attachment systems is completely an inside job. It's about how the observational self creates tangible vibrations of love that are felt and experienced by the inner experiencer, and then continuous creation of these self-experiences of self-love plant energetic seeds that transform the neurobiological data from the inside out so that everything changes in our brainstem. You can actually reprogram and rewire your brainstem and your thalamus and all these really backdrop unconscious memories that are actually generating these experiences. But only you can do that. No one else can do that for you. And when other people influence the wiring of attachments, oftentimes the attachments become hooked on that person. Like, I'm safe when I'm with this person. And that still is not being healed because you're dependent on an experience, and then the old stuff can just flare up again. And so healing can only happen from inside. Only happen from inside. It's an inside job. Healing, health, happiness, it's an inside job. Okay? So again, other people might be a catalyst and might provide insight or support. That's great. That's awesome. Reach out to your resources if you need them, if you have them. But please always know that the actual healing that you're seeking, it absolutely can only come from inside. It can only come from inside because only you can reprogram the data of your attachment systems so that they're healed. Nothing else and no one else can ever do that. Okay? But that's great news because it means you always have power. No matter what's going on, no matter what you have access to, no matter what's happening, you always have power inside of you through the conscious directing of your internal energy. Okay? So, tangible vibrations of love created continuously, not a one-time thing. It has to be something regular. So if you can create little rituals, even if they're only 5 or 10 minutes, like ideally they'd be a couple hours because then you're going to experience some wildly rapid, amazing transformation. But even if they're 5 or 10 minutes and you just do them once a day and you do that continuously, you're going to reprogram your brain. If you're going through really tough stuff, I really recommend 2 hours 2 to 3 times a day, each with a distinct ritual of self-love that allows your inner experiencer to tangibly feel love. That is going to reprogram your neurobiological data so transformatively. And I know that sounds like a big investment, but oh my goodness, it's so worth it. So start where you are. If you can start with one ritual for 5 minutes each day to help heal yourself through self-love, that's perfect. If you're going through really tough stuff and your full-time experience of life is just struggling with this stuff, like maybe you're not able to work right now, maybe you're looking into going into an in-treatment program or something, and your whole world is just I need to heal, please set an intention to work up towards a place where you have 3 daily rituals, 2 hours each, morning, afternoon, and evening, with something, anything. It can literally be anything, where you're attuning with yourself and creating tangible vibrations of love. I promise, I guarantee, this will create more healing than anything else in the world. There is not a single program in existence or a medication or anything that can create more healing than this. I promise. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Okay, so if you're in that situation where healing is just it's all you got because you can't do anything else because stuff's so tough inside, please make that your priority. I promise it will be worth it. And again, work your way up to it. Don't just jump into it. Don't overwhelm yourself. Attune with yourself in the process, right? Attune with yourself in the process of working towards this process of attuning. But have that be something you're working towards, and then let your compass guide you towards that. Okay? So, continual creation of these tangible vibrations of love to plant seeds of energetic data to meet your attachment needs. And again, you can find out more about the 4 attachment systems and the 20 needs that they house in my free downloads at kristinwindsor.com/gifts. Okay? Just to go through them real briefly, they mainly include a felt sense of being seen, loved, appreciated, celebrated, and treasured, a felt sense of closeness, connection, community, collaboration, vulnerability, and support, a felt sense of acceptance, respect, embrace, opportunistic space, and directional guidance, and a felt sense of safety, security, protection, and provision. Those are the main attachment needs within these 4 systems, according to diagrams of consciousness that I have created from scratch. And so when you continuously create felt experiences, these tangible vibrations of love, connecting your observational self with your inner experiencer through attunement and self-love, you will plant seeds of energetic data that literally reconstruct your brain cells. You literally remold your brain. Okay? Our brain is undergoing reconstructive wiring in every single moment of every single day. And when you consciously create these experiences for yourself regularly where there's love from yourself to yourself, you are rewiring your brain in the deepest way, in the best way, on the deepest level for the best results. Okay, beloveds? Okay, so that's how to heal eating disordered action patterns. And it is the absolute best way. From my perspective, of course. But seriously, neuroscientifically, this is going to provide more expansive healing results than any forms of approaches. Because if you look at the actions, you're missing where they're coming from. And you're creating resistance that makes healing harder. And when you look at the memories of whatever experiences started these action patterns, then you're activating neural networks holding that pain, and you're growing that pain so that the action patterns get bigger. And so the only real way to get down into the true transformation that is desired is to fulfill attachment needs. And this is wonderful because attachment systems are abstract data. It's just feeling safe. That's it. There's no particulars. It's not feeling safe in this scenario or it's just, I feel safe. Very abstract vibrations of love. And this is great because there's so many ways that this can be created for yourself. There's so many tools that you can play with. There's so many ways you can explore this. And it all starts with presence and then with love. Okay? All right, beloved soul friends, thank you so much for joining me for this Conversations with Kristin. It truly means the world that you're here learning about how to heal and being so bold to rise into your personal power by lovingly befriending the miraculous consciousness that carries you. Every part of you is worthy of healing, transformation, and infinite moments of happily ever after await you. You are never defined by the experience, and you are always worthy of love, peace, joy, and safety. You were born worthy. And when you transform life in this way, through pure presence and unconditional love, you reprogram the energetic data that is actually creating your sense of self and personal life so that you feel that way. You feel like you're worthy of love and safety and joy, and you just feel it. You feel it from within. Happiness is always an inside job. But that's great because it means we all have power within our own experience and ourselves, our identity, our worth, our potential. So thank you so much for your courage. One step at a time is always enough, beloveds. It's always enough. You only ever need to just be in one moment at a time, loving yourself. And then, what do? You're in one moment at a time, loving yourself. And then, what do you do next? What's the cue? You are in one moment at a time, loving yourself. And that's it. That's all you ever need to do. You get to let the rest go. You're only ever in love and ever in presence because that's who you are. That's who your neurobiology and your consciousness are at their core. Okay. So thank you so much for tuning in, beloved soul friends. It's been a blessed honor to connect with you in this way. I appreciate you infinitely. And if you would ever like to get together through a one-on-one consciousness consulting call, I would be absolutely honored to serve as a healing journey guide for you. It would truly be a delight to step in and aid your healing journey. It would be an absolute honor. You can find out more about who I am and what I do, and you can also go ahead and book a session at kristinwindsor.com. I really look forward to connecting with you. You can also explore some other at-home self-guided healing journey programs. So you have a whole bunch of tools founded in neurobiological or neuroscientific understandings and love, just great expansive loving compassion. And those two are creatively combined to create brand new healing journey programs that you can use on your own time, in your own way, at your own pace. And they really, 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 really create change because they're creating good good experiences of love, but they're also rewiring your brain. And when you bring those two together, when you bring greater self-connection and total transformation of the neurobiological data generating your life experience, and you bring those together, it is a wonderful healing experience every step of the way. Every step of the way. So you can explore more about these at-home healing journey programs at KristinWindsor.com. I also have a monthly membership program on Patreon, and I offer a variety of things, including guided meditations and personalized coaching videos. And so you can always kind of check that option out there as well at patreon.com/artistry of existence. And all of these links are also in the video description below. It's a blessed honor to serve as a healing journey guide for you all. It is truly a sacred privilege to be here with this offering. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being you, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Namaste, soul friends. The love and light in my divine consciousness. See and honor the love and light in your divine consciousness. Infinite blessings to you, beloveds. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a beautiful and blessed day.